So we have Julie, is it Gamberg? Julie Gamberg, who is from, I'm gonna let her unmute herself and let her introduce herself. She is our presenter today, and she's talking about ethics in AI, which is awesome. So go ahead, Julie.
Hey. Hey everyone, it is so nice to meet you. I'm going to change to gallery view. I am from Glendale College and I am in English and humanities. That's funny that we're talking about all of the writing related resources. Um, and I have been working with a bunch of different aspects of AI, but about a year and a half ago, small group of colleagues, two librarians, a computer science faculty, and me wrote an ethical AI grant to think about the impact of ethics and AI on our campus. And so when I was talking with y'all, I'm doing a bunch of other things with AI too, like you all are, and I have been amazed. How many of you, I'm just curious, have been to how many workshops? You can either unmute or throw it in the chat. I'm curious about if you've been to like everything or one or four, or this is your first one. Maybe throw it in the chat if you want. Because I saw the works 4 to 5, yeah. I was actually kind of wishing that I had asked if I could go. Some of them look amazing. Is anyone here working on a Learning Lab grant? That's a grant where you work with consortiums of a bunch of schools are working together on AI issues.
I think Amanda Tainter, who I think you maybe know, I got your name
Yeah,
from her.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think she's working on, or she worked on one grant that is building chatbots, I think. So I don't know
yeah,
where that is. That
yeah,
was
yeah.
just due. So
That's great.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so that's a really nice opportunity to work kind of cross-institutionally. And I'm seeing that's happening a lot with AI. So I'm so excited to be talking with you all about this today. And I want to jump in. And I was saying to Lori before I started that I have so much to share. I think you all know this is sort of the issue with AI, right? Things are changing incredibly quickly, and there's way more information than we can kind of curate and use all the time. But I did want to kind of think about what was most relevant. And so I have a bunch of links and goodies that I'll put in the chat, maybe toward the end. And in the meantime, I thought I would just start with a video. That kind of frames the really big ethical issues of AI. And if you have seen this video, I'm not gonna play all of it. I'll play just a little bit of it. And my computer crashed when I shared it before, so I'm a little nervous, but might do a partial screen share. Let me see. Okay, share sound, optimized for sharing, advanced, portion of screen. Let's see if that's gonna work. Okay, I see the problem. Let me try this one more time. Isn't it? It's always so funny when we're presenting on anything like technology related and we're just doing like a terrible job with the technology. So
I think as teachers, we all understand that technology breaks down at the worst times.
it happens. This is
We
actually, yeah, please go ahead.
we've all been there, Julie. You're doing great.
I know we have. This is actually the first computer crash I've had in ages. It crashed when I was on earlier with Lori and testing the share. So
If worse comes to worse, you could drop the link in and I could share it too.
absolutely, yeah. Let's hope it doesn't. If for some reason it does, I'll come back on and apologies. I actually had to do a hard restart. Okay, hopefully we will be okay, and we'll just watch a couple minutes of this. I also have this for you. I have a link for you to this.
AI ethics isn't about imaginary sci-fi scenarios like killer robots. It's about recognizing
Julie, do you
real
mind
present
doing the closed
dangers
captioning?
of generative AI. Now, there's a lot of good stuff that could come from generative AI, from ways to diagnose cancers, to discover new drugs, to find solutions for climate change. But it's easy to forget, amidst all this potentially good news, about the many potential harms of this new technology. The impact risk acronym offers a mnemonic so you or your students can help take these various harms into account. My name is John Ippolito, and I'm going to go through these one at a time. I is for InfoWar, AI-powered information that threatens to undermine democracy. That includes deepfakes of high-profile figures like President Biden, here heard in a faked robocall as part of the 2024 presidential primaries.
Voting this Tuesday only enables the Republicans in
But also includes personalized attacks on local figures, like this faked audio from a high school principal in Maryland.
You know, I seriously don't understand why I have to constantly put up with these dumbasses here every day.
The ease of generating customized code and text has also made cyber attacks cheaper and faster to deploy, whether that means writing custom malware or writing spear phishing emails. M is for monopoly. This one flies under the radar of a lot of people's mind when they think about AI harms. But a handful of Silicon Valley titans occupy the generative AI market, with Google vying for dominance against the OpenAI-Microsoft partnership, Meta prevailing when it comes to open source models. This concentration of power is even more evident in the AI chip market, where NVIDIA's dominance leaves competitors scrambling for crumbs. The massive amount of computation required to compete in this market has led to brittle monopolies that can stifle entrepreneurship and innovation. P is for plagiarism and privacy. Artists, musicians, and authors are
Sorry. So we're going to go ahead and stop there. And I have a link for you to this video, and also to what I want to show you now is the Impact Risk website, which I'll put in the chat right now. And you can get the video from there as well. And what I want to talk about, I thought we would stop at plagiarism because I think that's something that we've been probably talking about a lot. But this is one of the many, many, many resources I want to share with you. Again, really acknowledging that curation at this point is almost more important than the amount of resources that we have. But I think it is a really good one. And I'm gonna close this so it doesn't make a, what's nice is they have this infographic that you can download and use, so you can get it into, if you have a Canvas shell, or if you want to show it to students, if you want to show the video or a portion of the video. It's just a really, really nice kind of lens with which to kind of think about what the actual impacts of AI are, right? Rather than it might, take over the world and just try to destroy humans because we're not good for the world, et cetera. And it's licensable. So I wanted to show you this resource kind of as a way to kind of enter into this discussion with a very heavy beginning, but really think about this is why we're talking about ethical uses of AI. This is why we're not just talking about, how might we design an app with AI to use in our courses? How might we thought partner with AI and teach our students to do that? All of which I actually think is also very important. So this is why we're kind of holding this as well. And then I just have this really quick Mentimeter. Let's see. So if you want to do it, it's at menti.com, code 51874001. And this is a word cloud. So the idea is when you think of using AI ethically in education, and word cloud style, single word, although you can always submit again with a second word, kind of first word that comes to mind, using AI ethically in education. So again, you can go to menti.com, and this should be live, but if anyone is trying to do it and my computer crashed, I had to restart it. Let me know if it's not. And you go to menti.com and you use the code right here, 51874001. You can actually copy and put in the chat as well. My Zoom just updated. Not hard to restart. Chat looks different. Okay, it's happening. It's happening. Yeah, so you can always do it a second time and do a second, there it is. So that's the direct link. Give it a couple more minutes. And then if you want to go back and do a second word, does it let you do a second word? We're a really small group, so please feel welcome to unmute and feel welcome to, I may not see the chat, so you can just jump in and say
Yeah,
something.
Julie, those are my 2 words. This is David.
Okay, so David is in.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's working.
And there's a link in the chat that'll take you right to it too.
yeah, I tried to put in another word because cheating was mine too, but it wouldn't let me do another one then.
Okay,
Go back
you have to
in.
go to incognito browser.
Oh,
You don't have to do a second word if you don't want to.
I wanted to, I just clicked enter
I'm
too.
gonna stop sharing for a second and let folks I'm just gonna give that another minute to kind of think about that. So that nobody is feeling pressure, but do throw in a word and we'll go back and look at it in a minute. So I want to just frame this as what we're looking at is kind of the intersection of like innovation, academic integrity, both students and ours, and equity. So for the rest of the time that we have, that's what I want to talk about. And it's, ethical AI in education is a little bit fraught. It's a little bit like, what does it actually mean? What are we getting at? What are we prioritizing? Which is why I thought it'd be really fun to just see kind of what you might come up with the word cloud. So if you want to, yeah, it's expanding a little bit, and I'll share it again in just a minute.
What was the code again?
It is, I think that it's 51874001. And I'm gonna, my Canva didn't restart, so I'm gonna just, my goodness. Everything that's restarting is wanting to have like a whole new world. Okay, let's go back to the Mentimeter. I think we have a few more. Well, you know what's breaking my computer? I think it's actually Canva. Okay. Yay, we do have more. Let me try that share again. Here we go. Now you're seeing Canva, or you're not seeing anything?
It wasn't coming up yet.
Okay, y'all, this is the worst ever.
Deep breaths. It's all good.
um,
I can share it. I have it. It's up on my screen.
oh yeah, please do. That would be wonderful. I really appreciate that.
Oops, let me. Oh, now I'm frozen.
Lori, I have it up. You want me to share?
Oh, there it goes on
Oh.
mine. Okay, I just froze. Yeah, so here you go. Can you all see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, so cheating, voicelessness, edu-trust, understanding, fear, nervousness, interesting. I'm curious about EduTrust. I think that's such a great term. I don't think I've ever heard that before, but it reminds me of the conversations we've had about so many things, right? Like proctoring and Turnitin's use of student work. And does anyone want to comment that either the person that wrote EduTrust or someone else on what EduTrust is? Did you make up that word or is that a term? I love it. You got it from ChatGPT. And what was your prompt? It's all about the prompt, right? Ironic. What did you ask? What did you prompt, Eric? What did you, or you asked it the question? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, okay. That's a really great example of actually, I mean, this is not the focus of our session, but that's a great example of when we talk to students about using AI. And I imagine you've been talking about this in the last couple of weeks, but often when we have knowledge, just like we use, a thesaurus or a calculator, but we know what we're doing, right? We're using it as a shortcut or an assistant or to jumpstart our thinking. When we have knowledge, we really can like gain something from thought partnering with AI. So I like EduTrust. Like, I'm going to take that and we can be very transparent with students and say, hey, so I was looking for this and a lot of its answers we're not so right on, but EduTrust is helpful. Yeah, you only just started trying it. Great. Yeah, it's really great to share that with students actually and just talk about what your experiences have been and et cetera. Okay, so these are really good insights. And I think that, cheating and fear were the first couple that came up. And I think that makes a lot of sense because students have been using AI really rampantly. I think we've all seen that, and it's been extremely jarring. Like, how do we teach our disciplines now? And what are our responsibilities to students? And how do we teach them critical thinking? So we'll do our own critical thinking and kind of dive into maybe some basic ethical principles that we may want to consider. So let me.
Do you want me to stop sharing?
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Okay.
Time to stop sharing and share a little bit of my Canva. So this is our presentation. Hi, I'm Julie. Navigating innovation, integrity, and equity. And so I want to just think about 3 key principles in AI education, and transparency, fairness, and accountability. And I actually want to share something with you. Let's see. So yeah, you might see my other. Yeah, that's the Canva's suggestions. So I want to share another link with you, and I think this is really important to know that maybe you all actually already know this, that Europe has developed like quite a few guidelines and guardrails. So here's a link to some. The European Commission is, I think, what I just linked to you for you, and the principles that are in many of these documents are a lot longer. There's often 12 or 14 principles: privacy, data protection, bias and fairness in AI algorithms, transparency in decision making, human oversight, equitable access to tools, etc. So those are all really important. And the reason why in this, can I make this go away? The reason why, so much better. The reason why just these 3 that look all funny in this triangle is transparency is where we're clear with students and colleagues about when and how we're using AI in our own educational practices. And then we're asking students for the same. Right? So that transparency is like a building block of us being able to work with AI in any way with students, is we're giving it as well. And fairness is really paying attention to, are our AI tools potentially perpetuating or exacerbating existing biases? And if so, how can we pay attention to that? What can we do about that? And are we juggling that ball continuously? And accountability is our being responsible for the AI tools that we use and the impact that that has on students, including student privacy. So that principle encompasses like ensuring consent if we're going to put student data into AI, and especially for really sensitive tasks like grading or student information. So I would like to share, so those are 3 principles I think we can adopt if we want, right? That are much more condensed, but if you did take a look at the link, or, you know, I read aloud some of the kind of longer lists of principles, maybe you just want to put in the chat right now if you have other principles that you think might be good for AI in education. These are just 3, right, that I thought of that I thought will really encompass the things that we need to most focus on when we're thinking about higher ed. But I'm still thinking about it. So what critical thought? Yeah. How would we say more about that? Because what is that? How does that manifest itself as like a principle when we're thinking about AI in higher ed? I'm really interested in that idea.
Are you referring, are you?
To Deanna's.
Oh, yeah. So, well, just as a principle, I think we can debate about the degree of critical thinking that goes into using AI. And I know that that's always a debate. That's so many points to argue on both sides. I'm seeing an evolution of the importance of thinking critically as we go deeper into the usage of AI.
Yeah. So I wonder if that could almost be a subset of accountability, or if accountability could be changed somehow to incorporate that. Because I think about how we thought partner with AI, right? And like, it's sometimes it's very murky to determine if critical thinking is happening or not. Like that's a really juicy area of exploration. So yeah, okay, I think fairness is interesting. I want to hear more about that. Yeah, I get that not everyone can access the paid versions, but it seems like there might, yeah, that's great. We'll get into that in the next slide. That's a good question. Any other thoughts about this critical thinking? Because it's so incredibly important, right? It's what we're really scared of in our disciplines. I think a lot of our fear relates to the way that AI kind of evens things out and dumbs them down and keeps students from really doing the kind of analysis that we've been working on really across our disciplines.
I think it's kind of ironic that honestly, like the usage of AI, I mean, yes, it's true. I mean, I believe that I absolutely could be more need to be more educated in the usage of AI. Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. But however, I think what's happening is this, it's all getting ahead of us, right? And so what I'm seeing is, and I was the one that put up voicelessness on the little, the sheet, the thought sheet, because what it really is doing is rendering all of my students voiceless. Like they're all really becoming voiceless. They don't know their subject matter. They're just shrinking back further and further and further as AI explodes. And so it's not, you can't even have this conversation with your students because they're just busy AIing about how they'll respond to you.
Yeah.
And so it's just really, really a problem. And while as educators, we're all trying to get a hold of these things in terms of transparency, fairness, accountability, it's like a runaway train. I mean, students are not interested. The average student is not interested in having these conversations with you because they're just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
So
what is your discipline?
I'm sorry?
What is your discipline?
English
Yeah.
faculty.
And me as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a runaway train at this point, honestly.
I mean, I'll say for myself, and this was actually very similar for my CS, my computer science colleague. We revamped our courses completely this semester. My English 101, which is our English, our freshman comp course, first year comp, is now totally just focused on AI, which I was really bummed about because I really liked my old course, but I felt like there was, our backs are against the wall a little bit, and this is having such an impact on students. So now they want to talk about it, Deanna, right? Because they have to, it's all we talk about. And we work with AI, and we can talk about that in another time. Lori said I might come and visit English, or I think y'all are doing great things anyway. But there's all kinds of things you can do. You can, just very simple and across disciplines. This is a really nice technique, is just have students screenshot or link to their chats with AI. And you can put that, if you're online, you can put it in a discussion. If you're in person, you can bring it into class, you can project it, and you can start having conversations about that. And students are interested in that. They're interested in how one another prompts, they're interested in the answers they're getting. And then suddenly we're doing, I don't want to go too far in this narrow discipline, but in our discipline, we're doing, rhetorical analysis. We're doing all these great things that we want to be teaching anyway. And I'm, finding in my computer science colleagues kind of the same thing. All the things that he was wanting to teach are then happening through that lens. So that's a kind of a big leap. And I do want to get back to this focus, and especially also get to Lori's question, which is in the next slide. So equitable AI access. We'll quote equitable AI access. And I really like this crashed before. I'm so sorry, you guys. Okay. What are we talking about here? A lot of the stuff we already know. We already know there's a really big digital divide. And Lori, you have a great question, which is, there's a free version, there's a paid version. I want to get directly to that as well. But we know there's, like 10% of our students across the community colleges don't have reliable internet access at home, and 20% only use smartphone for coursework, et cetera, et cetera. So these are things I think we already know, but this really affects our use of AI so much, because now that students are using it to cheat, to get assignments done, to shortcut, the difference is dramatic, right? In the way that students are able to output work very, very quickly, and the way that students have no access to that, in part because of digital divide issues. I know you all had a workshop on AI for universal design, and I think I wanted to just say that that's a place where we actually can help ensure equity. So I think I'm going to drop a quick journal article in the chat for y'all, but I think that's a really nice place to, so this is not like a ethics no. This is actually a place where we ourselves as educators can ethically use AI to create a more equitable, ethical learning environment. So I think, did any of you go to that universal design workshop? Okay, just saw it on your list. You didn't get to
That's
it.
the only one that I missed because I had another meeting that I couldn't cancel, and so someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't gone to any of yours, but they all look amazing. And I was just excited to see that you had that one. But so this paper, if you look it over, it kind of explores like how you could use ChatGPT as an assistive tech tool within the UDL concept, the framework of universal design for learning. So it's a nice little quick read if you want to kind of think about upping your ethical AI game just by doing that. I think is a great way. And it's a really nice way to play around with the tools as well for student benefit, direct student benefit. And then thinking about student perspectives when we're thinking about equitable AI access, I'm going to give you, in the chat now like 4 or 5 different articles. Don't feel like you have to read any or all of these. I just want to make sure you have lots of resources and for whatever you're interested in. And I think I try to put them in the order of most kind of immediately relevant to least. Oh, except I think the last one actually is, I think I might share a tiny piece of that. But to kind of sum up, students many are trepidatious, many really have no idea what exactly AI is, how it works, what a large language model is and how it works. They have concerns about many of the same things we're concerned about: accuracy, privacy, ethical issues, their negative impact on their own critical thinking. These are things students report being worried about, which is really interesting. So they are aware of these as issues, and they're also feel really confused about what is acceptable use, what is unacceptable use, when is it accurate, what is accurate. Students often don't know that there are a wide variety of large language models, some with much better guardrails than others. So, but they do see potential benefit. And I think, as Deanna said, I hope I'm saying your name correctly, right now students are really going for the shortcut, right? That's what they have in front of them is the shortcut. So we kind of going back one slide, this idea of maybe accountability and fairness, and this is sort of where it gets into equity, and maybe going to your question, Lori, more than just can someone afford a pro subscription or not, where is our ethical obligation to sort of help our students in higher ed navigate this landscape in such a way that they can use it effectively and ethically themselves. So I do want to show you, I think, one thing before I get back to these slides that is a whole other presentation. It's not mine, it's Dr. Tori Trust's, and I'm going to give that to you in the chat as well. And it is openly licensed. So I'll give him the chat, but I think I'm going to wait till after I share it. So you are very welcome to use it and remix it. I did not want to remix her presentation for this presentation. Yeah, it's not letting me share. Let me try one more time. Because it's a really juicy, lengthy, complex presentation, and I think it deserves its own view. But if you decide if you're going to do some work like in your divisions or something, and you want a really good resource to go to, I highly recommend this one that I'm going to try to share one more time. I think I'm just going to share it not in presentation mode. So I'm going to share a few of the screens. It's there's 146 slides. This is like some really in-depth, and some of it is actually getting a little slightly outdated quickly, but mostly it's pretty fabulous. And some of the things that I think are really important and that you can share with students as well, and I'm about to give you the link to this in the slides, so you'll have this, is just kind of taking a look, right, at what kind of data is collected. I think that's really important for students to be aware of and think about. There's a great, so this is like an annotated, right? It's the privacy things that we usually just click on, annotated. And there's actually a really cool exercise where students annotate these themselves. And there's some hyperlinks in here that kind of give them some guidelines. And then I think what's really great is there's this really cool like article that's linked out about kind of what information is how you're being surveilled. And that's a lot of students don't realize that. And they're very affected by that information. So I think these slides sort of in the middle from like 8 to 25 are just worth the price of admission right away. But then Dr. Trust goes on and she looks at each of the major GPTs or LLMs and kind of she annotates each of them. And then there's a bunch more stuff that really relate to some of what we looked at when we looked at the impact risk material, which I think she uses, I think she refers to the impact risk material as well. So this is a really, really nice already made resource, and I'm going to take you back up to the top just to show you that it is openly licensed. So this is a really great resource to use, and I'll share it in the chat right now as you are working with students or your colleagues. And Emma, thank you, David. You probably left already. Okay, so yeah.
It said that you have to ask for access to it, so you might need to open
Okay.
it up. But can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I hear a lot of people who talk about the ethics and that when you're putting stuff in like student papers or whatever, then AI has that. But I have questions. So yesterday we had a student panel, and the student actually even said teachers can use it to grade, and you could just put in the paper. So I wonder how much students are thinking about that. But I also wonder, how is that different from anywhere you go on the web where they're basically tracking you? And sometimes I kind of feel like we bring up this, and I'm just going to be really honest, and someone might kick me in the tush later on, but we bring up this idea of students need to know that anytime you put a paper in the, in it, it has that information, but that is true with anything on the intranet. If I look up underwear at Macy's, and then when I'm, on my phone, then all of a sudden in my Facebook, I'm getting it. And so I just like sometimes I wonder if we're so concerned about this, then shouldn't we just be concerned about everything dealing with where our personal stuff is going?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. And I do have some thoughts for you that might be helpful, but I'm wondering if anyone else wants to jump in. I saw some nodding or some thoughts. Deanna.
Yeah, I just, oh my God, Lori knows. Like I have 50 million thoughts on this. And one could argue that I am ignorant, when it comes to AI, and that's why I have these thoughts. But so like today in class, because I'm over it, I'm over having half my submissions obviously AI generated, because then I just feel like, what am I even doing here? And so I feel like I guess I'm just here to like have a voice. I don't know what else to do with myself. But I had a pop quiz today in class. And so I asked students just questions like this. I just said, okay, pop quiz. What tools do we need to write our essay? How should we use ChatGPT? What are some brainstorming devices? Can you define AI? How comfortable do you feel about talking about something that you're not familiar with? Have you ever had a course about the various uses of the implications of AI? And is the use of AI in this class considered cheating? So that was just a quick quiz that I popped in there for students, pop quiz, and we talked about it. So sometimes I feel like everything, all of this AI, like these are courses unto themselves. Like we could major in AI, right? And so what's happening is we're rooting around in class, we're we're going around and around and around, and all the while my students are increasingly less versed in the topic at hand, which is, did you read the book? How do you put together a paragraph? And their time is so spent on searching how to put it all together that like we're never getting to the actual point. So and I guess I'm getting increasingly more intense and maybe offensive to others. I don't know. Lori knows I try not to be. She and I are colleagues, but it's just frustrating because I'm just sad. And I think to Lori's point, it's like, yeah, why would anybody be concerned about inputting their information because their information's out? I mean, we're already at like, right? Underwear at Macy's. We're already at the level where like everybody knows what underwear we have. But like to Lori's point, but what's to me more disconcerting is that my students are becoming increasingly more voiceless. They don't have a handle on their subject material. AI is not doing anything for them at this level. And And then I get labeled, I might be labeled as being closed-minded because I say to them, this might be a tool for another course. And like you just read, AI, there's so many things like, you know, medicine, surgery, science, there's all kinds of things that AI has done well with. But that's because maybe they've gotten to the point where, you know, a person can design a bridge without the, I don't know. Anyway, the point is that we're just lacking in critical thought, and AI is not helping anyone.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where to go with this. I feel like students, maybe we all just need to create a, you know, major in AI, and we all need to get that degree.
I think those are coming. So I think those are coming, and that's a very valid perspective. I think for a lot of us, it maybe depends what modality we teach, what our discipline is, what our situation is. I teach primarily fully online, so AI is going to be part of my students' work, you know, no matter what. And I think about how we are, you know, the skills that are embedded in the skills that we teach, and it seems like critical media literacy, thinking about critical AI literacy, potentially we can just sort of let it go and focus on a narrower set of skills. One thing I might recommend, and I want to get to Lori's question a little more directly as well, but one of the resources I wanted to share with y'all, which I really like, and I feel like Deanna, you might like this. It's I don't know if you know about aipedagogy.org. I'm gonna put it in the chat right now. It is, and I can share it on a screen too, maybe, or can I? Wow, it was, I don't want to belabor this, but having that computer crash was quite, so it's from the Meta Lab at Harvard. I will share it for just like a hot second. And I am sharing with you a single page from it, which is, these are all this part of the resource. This is another great resource. And again, I want to acknowledge that, you know, we're got a lot of resources. So it's not like we don't have resources, but it is good to have good ones. And this part of the resources are all assignments, and they're assignments in different disciplines. And they all have this, like, who did it, what the themes are, the subject, or, you know, the discipline, the tools that are used, the skills. So this is actually meant to kind of use AI to encourage critical thinking by having, I don't know if you have a face-to-face, do you have a face-to-face classroom, Deanna? Yeah, this is sort of geared for a face-to-face debate. So this might be kind of a cool assignment to try. You could think about it, and it might be a way to enter into these waters in a way that's both like resistant and like, you know, like experimenting and see kind of how this goes for students. This is again an amazing resource. It's cross-disciplinary, and it has this like starter section. It's very gentle. This tutorial about LLM, this one I assigned to my students. It was the only thing from this that I actually assigned to my students. And then all these like really nicely curated resources. And you'll see some of these again and again. Some of these names come up again and again. So for example, I didn't remember that Leanne Furz's resource was in here, but I'm giving you that resource as well. And then these great lesson ideas that are super cool, all these assignments that folks have put together and are sharing. And so you have like you know, these are science related, this is sociology, linguistics, finance, etc. And a couple of them are like really powerful. I have done one of these with my students. I'm not seeing it right here, but it's one where they create an image that supports a hoax and using AI. And it's really, really useful, and it's led to good discussion. So it's a great way to jump in if you want to. And then, we don't have a ton of time, and I want to show you one more thing and hear one more thing from y'all. But Lori, I totally get your question, and this is what I would say. this is where, you know, we as the professionals and as educators have this sort of extra level of responsibility. So not all of our students share everything about themselves on the internet. Some do, but we can't, you know, we don't know that. And it's their work that we can't decide whether to share. And the reason why sharing with LLMs that don't have guardrails, that don't have privacy protections in place is the whole reason that we're sort of so upset about the plagiarism that's inherent in LLMs, which is that all the information it's trained on, it then uses without citing. So we can't really give it students ideas and voices to train on and reuse later without citing ethically as professionals. I mean, even though students are going to do it with our work, right? We can assume if, you know, if we have essays, if we have textbooks out there, students are going to do it. But as professionals, we can decide whether we want to have our Macy's underwear known or not known for our own selves. We have to let students decide that for themselves too. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I don't want my Macy's underwear example all over.
We're all going to get Macy's, all of us, the boys, girls, non-binary. After the Zoom, we're all going to be getting Macy's underwear.
But I, you know, it's something that gets brought up over and over and over again. And that makes a lot of sense that some people are fine with putting everything out there, but some people don't. And so we need to explain to them that when they're putting it on here, it is taking their information and their stuff and it is using it. And if you are okay with that, great. If you're not, then know this.
Yeah.
My thought is that it's going to become irrelevant anyway, because at some point I mean, even yesterday, these students were like, all of your students are using it, whether they tell you or not. But I understand as professionals, we need to tell them that. I just feel like some people are getting really stuck on that point where I feel like, okay.
Yeah. It's not it doesn't strike you as the primary issue as you sit face to face with students and see what's actually happening.
Right. To me, it's not. To me, it's the ethics of them using it, how they're using it as departments. Like I think our department for a long time has just ignored it because we haven't wanted to deal with it. How are departments dealing with it? You know, some people in our department are using it. Other people are having their students write every single essay, you know, and so then there's like, to me, that's an ethical issue too. If some students are learning how to use it and other students are not. So those to me are the bigger ethical issues, I feel. So thank you for letting me share that.
No, it's really important. And actually, I think that's maybe, and again, I don't know if this is really like the Holy Trinity, so to speak, but I do think that's where fairness comes into play, right? Like if some professors are teaching the 101 or the 1A course in their discipline and allowing full AI and some are not at all, like where is that in the accountability and the transparency? It seems like no matter what else we do in higher ed, we need like these three need to be cornerstones right now because there's such a discrepancy between what's happening and who wants what. And some of our students are virulently anti-AI and very upset by it and very protective of their privacy, which is, I think, another reason why we would not want to input student data into AI that does not have guardrails, which is, by the way, not all AI, right? There are LLMs that have completely different ethical models. So I wanted to talk about one more thing really quickly. We only have a couple minutes, which is just as we're thinking about these policies and your role, and I'll have like a quick question for you. I think that, you know, our roles are evolving, right? They are shifting quickly. I know if your campus is anything like mine or most of our campuses in the California community colleges, we're not getting remuneration, we're not getting financial support for having to make all these really dramatic shifts and all this new learning. At the same time, AI can automate certain tasks and maybe allow us to focus more on our own, like the things that we want to be doing with students, mentoring, the critical thinking development. So I think it is worth really thinking about what are ways that you may want to consider thought partnering with AI that's beyond the scope of this presentation, but I think it speaks to our shifting and evolving roles, is to consider that. We are asked for all these new competencies, we're being asked to understand AI systems, we're being asked to interpret AI, we're being asked to name when AI is being used and then not have proof and then not be believed. And this is really a complicated new competency, and it's one that's shifty and murky and shifting like underneath our feet. So I just want to really acknowledge that. And then we're really, as I would say, as community college faculty, in many ways, I think we're at the forefront of ethical decision making, right? We're not in the K through 12 system where we are often not really allowed independent decision making in our classrooms. And yet, as faculty, we do have a lot of power around decisions that we make and start to make collectively around ethical decisions around AI use. So I think that's a really important direction for us to go in collectively. And as we do that, I think as we're thinking about AI policies, as we're thinking about institutional division, personal, et cetera, we just want to really continue thinking about privacy protection and consent. That's incredibly important. And then transparency. We want to make sure that colleagues know, students know, is this free? Is it paid? What is the difference between the free version and the paid version? And by the way, the differences are pretty stark. What kind of guardrails are there? What was the bias in the algorithm training, right? All of the impact stuff that we saw in that little bit of that video we started to watch. That's where the transparency and accountability are incredibly important. Data collection, storage, usage, all kinds of privacy compliance issues. So we want to really keep pushing for that transparency, and then the accountability of like, who's responsible for making AI decisions, who's responsible for like measuring the outcomes, et cetera. So those are really bigger issues, but I think as we think about kind of ethical decisions that we want to make, and I want to just bring that to a question about like your evolving role. When you're thinking about ethics in AI, just maybe we can end this by taking a moment to reflect on like a new responsibility or competency that you are developing or have had to develop or are resisting developing that you might like to share. You can throw it in the chat. You can also just unmute and say it.
Well, I mean, I feel like I'm having to learn how to use AI and develop better prompts. And I have used it a little bit for lesson planning I wanted to get some ideas for something to share with someone. So I've used it, I've played around with it. But where I know I need to use it, and I might talk to you a little bit, is I teach online and I want to introduce it in my next unit. And there is that nervousness to, because I'm not face to face, to make sure that they're actually engaging in if I make a video or have a text for them to read or something. But I feel like we have to introduce AI to them and we have to let them use it and talk about it now after all of these. I've even thought like maybe even the whole class needs to be focused around AI. And I know some teachers have done that. I don't know if I'm there yet. I know you said you did that, but I feel like there's no way around it, and that it's going to put the students who are like yesterday, the students who I had on my student panel, you could tell they are the students who are with it. They do their homework. Like they're the ones who are going to get ahead.
Yeah.
And so we have to give, maybe this is the ethical thing, we have to help our other students learn how to use it. Like to me that, but I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah.
So may I jump in?
Yeah.
I know it's 4:30, but I think for me, it's more of an issue of it, like, in addition to what Lori is saying, it's like, it's so all encompassing, right? That it is of it, in and of itself, a course. So what is almost what needs to happen is there needs to be from like, we can talk about it, but there needs to be like a focus on what are we doing about it across the board. Like maybe the place for it is in its own course so that students have, so that it's taking over the class. Like what's happening is it's becoming its own subject. So it's like either we all do this theme and then to the exclusion of the other things happening in class. I mean, it's such a big topic. It's so all encompassing that maybe there needs to be like, dare I say, an administrative, not policy, but like a uniform action, and maybe everybody's required to take an AI course before they enter into their English 1A or whatever else classes they have. Like maybe that's the way. Like there's just so many, all of us are struggling to like figure out how to incorporate it, but it's also diverse, kind of like what Lori's saying about the equity of that, right?
Right.
So it just seems to be, while it's taking over, students are just like not engaging. And even if they were to engage with the AI, it's a different type of engagement, it's its own subject.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. That's a really interesting idea, right? So like a required course that for students and faculty, right? And faculty need to be compensated for taking it, or it's professional development and yeah, kind of getting everyone a little bit more on the same page. I think that's a really great idea to bring to like maybe academic senate and try to shove it up the state. I love that. I think it's super smart. There are a few new really great OERs coming out any minute now, around like student facing, faculty facing around AI. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was, thank you so much for coming. I'm not sure if you say your name, Salome, but thank you for coming.
I'm gonna stop the recording. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
Hi, sorry, I gotta go pick up my kids.
Yeah, of course. It was a pleasure to meet you.
I'm
Nice
so happy
meeting
you were
you.
here.
Thanks for being
Thank
here.
you.
Thank you, Julie.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna put a couple quick links in the chat. Salome, I don't know if you wanna let me put them in really
I'll
fast.
post them too.
Oh yeah, okay, great.
Yeah.
Good, because actually there's these are just like the most goody goodies. Again, I don't want to be overwhelming, but I do want to share. Oh yeah, they don't have like bullet points, but I think there's, let's see, like 6 or 7 in there. So pedagogy.org, we went over that one together already. This Padlet, if you click on it, it's just a really nice kind of resource it's an open resource where folks are sharing with each other. It's got a lot of great stuff on it, but it's a little messy, it's a little intense, but I think it's really good to know about. So I wanted to just make sure you had it. The next one, the Cornell one, is an ethical AI kind of website database that Cornell put together. It's got some really great stuff in it. I would say that, along with the Google Slides I shared that I need to make shareable, are some of your really like heavy hitting resources. And then I do a lot of work, Deanna, it would be interesting to talk about, and Lori too, but with linguistic justice and equity. And there's that voicelessness really resonates with me, and that's what's great is that this English 101 revamp for AI is all about like AI and linguistic justice and equity. And so there's like a lot of like analysis of what we like in writing and voice and all kinds of really, it's been kind of juicy while we're getting some education in AI. So I think there's some nice territory there, and that article is nice. And then the let's see, and then that I already shared the impact risk. And then the last thing is Leon First. He's a PhD student, a graduate student, and he's been doing some really cool work. And he just did something, that's the very last website. that I just did with my students. He made a game. Let me see if it's on here. He's just a really great person to like follow on social media, and he's smart, he's thoughtful, he's very generous in sharing whatever he's working on. And let me see if the game is under bias. But he made a really great game about like, can you find the AI generated image? Although I noticed the New York Times just did like one with videos with that. So anyway, his is a great website as well. There's a lot of resources as you go down this rabbit hole of ethical AI.
Oh, well, thank you so much. Can you hang out for a second, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate you so much, and this is so much, and I'll share the resources too when I
Yeah.
share the little
Yeah.
video. And
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. Yeah, I would just share what,
Yeah.
these are the ones that are related to ethical AI. There's a bunch of others that are related to curriculum stuff. And
It all starts to blend though, doesn't
but
it?
it is nice to have at least ones that are high quality,
Yeah.
if